Have you actually seen this viral video?
I've seen it, kind of, sort of.
Like it mentioned, like it referenced online.
Yes. I haven't. I don't think
I
I've
actually just rewatched
seen
it
the
this
video.
morning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's very funny. But so basically, it's a video. It was a woman. She's talking about like she's like 34, and she was like, yeah, she need to like the young girls are not doing the club right how they used to. She was like, yeah, they're going to the club in like sandals and sneakers and stuff. You're supposed to wear heels. Like maybe I need to come out of retirement and show them how it's done. But then she shows her heels of choice. And those are the most geriatric heels I've ever seen in my life. They're very responsible. It's a very responsible shoe. If I had to had a long walk to the car, I'd pick those. Like, it was not... People were like, girl.
It's not giving night on the town.
No, it was giving I have church in an hour. Like, it was not that. But that kind of sparked the conversation. Because then I saw another, like, whole separate conversation where people were like, oh, I'm 30, but I don't look 30. And they're like, you know, they're sharing photos of themselves. But the problem is they all look every day and second of 30. And I'm just like, and that's okay. But it made me think, I'm like, what is going on right now, first of all? I'm like, I don't know if it's just because, like, obviously the people that, you know, our little circle was, like, obviously close in age. So I'm like, maybe that's why I keep seeing the conversation. But I'm like, when did 30 become, like, old? It's older, but I'm like, they're talking like it's geriatric. They're like, oh, you look good for 30. I'm like, am I supposed to look bad?
Bad for 30?
Like, unless you have a meth addiction. It's really no real reason as to why 30 should be hitting you hard like that. Well, unless you are of... Yep, we're going to leave it.
Yeah, I was like, where we going?
30 should not look like... It should not... You should be fine.
Sure. It do feel like that has always been a consensus, though, that, like, once you get to 30...
Like, that's old.
It's old.
Or that's when you're officially an adult.
Yeah.
And so, thus, you must look like an adult, which is assumed to be bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you look like stress is catching you.
Yeah, like... But yeah, I'm just like, I don't understand. I was like, 30 is like... I do feel like, of course, it's certain things that you shouldn't still be doing at 30. Like, I feel like that's a good threshold to be like, okay, everything that I was doing on the left side, which is the 20s, every single thing probably shouldn't come on the right side, which is the 30s, which is fine.
Yeah.
So stop doing things that are aging you.
Exactly.
Such as meth.
Yeah, let's cut that off earlier. Right?
Yeah, right.
Stop that at 29.
Maybe sooner. But,
Okay, my bad.
but I'm like, I don't know. It's not, you know, I'm 31. I don't feel old.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't feel like, it feels like the perception is just like 30, roll over, die. And I'm just like, I'm missing something. So I'm like, I said, I don't feel old. I'm 30. I'm like, my back hurts sometimes. But my back been hurting for like 5 years.
Yeah. It's like the end of it building up to your back hurting.
I hope this is the peak pain I'm going to experience.
And then not just get worse. Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, do you feel like your back hurts, but do you feel 30? Is that a feeling that I feel like you can, like, quantify?
I mean,
Like, you feel like something changed when you turned 30?
I feel like the only thing that actually changed with 30, I feel like it's mental.
Okay.
Like I say, I feel like certain pressures probably become more prevalent because you're just like, all right, biological clock is ticking. Like, stuff like that becomes more prevalent. But as far as, like, I think I need to go get my AARP card, like, it's not giving that.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there are certain, like, pressures, I guess, in your 30s, but none of them having to do with, like, the way I, like, look, per se.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think I agree. Like, yeah, I don't think that I look like I'm old, but I feel like there's
Somebody called you Unc yesterday.
pain.
Sorry,
That was mean.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That was mean-hearted. But I do think that, like, I've changed the way that once I turned 30, I was like, I'm more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Set in, like, what I want to do now. Like, I am being more intentional is what I'm looking for. I'm more intentional in the things that I want to do, I need to do, because I'm like, I'm 30, right? I'm like, I need to be planning for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to, fuck around and just live, just go on.
Exist, yeah.
Exist. I want to be like, I'm working towards something at this point.
Right.
And I think that's probably been the main change as I've turned 30. Like, I think beforehand I was really just kind of like, I'm going with the flow. I'm
Yeah.
living life. We're going to get to where we get to. Now I'm like, no, I need to be making a plan to set up for the rest of my life, whether that be marriage, kids, that type of shit down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being more okay, so that makes me
Being more
next
intentional,
question. Yeah, intentional. This is like, do you feel like at what age do you feel like you are set in your ways? Because I do have a theory, and I think I do have a prediction in my head. Like in my mind, there's a crossroad at about 35. And unfortunately, I think of this just for men. I know it could vary from, I don't know what the equivalent is for women, but for men, I feel like there's like two paths. At 35, either you are an emotionally intelligent, well-rounded, pretty liked person, or you make the decision to be the 40-year-old in the club with the bootcut jeans and the sideways hat and the really bad takes. I feel like those are the only two options for men. And at 35, you have to decide which way you're going to go.
Yeah.
So what she's saying is in this next 5 years are real formative years.
Just our frontal lobe.
Make your choices now because they're stuck with you after this next 5.
No, it do feel that way though. Like it do like out of the people I've interacted and stuff like that, it do feel like that mid-30 is where it's like either you're going to lock in and make something of yourself, or to your point, you just about to exist, go to your job from your 9 to 5, from day to day. And I mean, I would hope that we're on the front end of that as men, trying to get prepared for that. But I do feel like it feels as though the men that aren't figuring that out in their 30s are still chasing their 20s, which, to my question about asking if y'all feel 30, I don't necessarily feel like once I hit 30, I felt 30. Like I still kind of don't feel 30. So that's why I'm like, what's the feeling to y'all? Because I do feel as though we have to be more responsible for things. But if you aren't responsible to this point, I don't feel like you're going to have it figured out. And I think that goes back to by 35, you don't got to figure it out. Bro, you're done.
So but what you're saying is like by 30, if you hadn't figured it out, because you said at this point.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that it's earlier, like if you're not on track to figure, or at least in the mindset of like, I'm going to figure my shit out.
Yeah.
You think that it's over, it's cooked.
I think that you have time to turn it around, but I think that like for your peak, you are like significantly behind 8 ball. I don't think you will hit it if you're not on your path to something by 30. You don't have to be like necessarily your career, but just not like working at McDonald's. I'm not even to like just diminish that.
No,
Cause like
I agree.
Yeah, you got to be closer to something. I feel.
Or at least know at 30 where it's just like, yeah, I'm probably not living right. Like at least I'll take that to be like the
Have the
self-awareness.
mindset of,
The self-awareness. I think
100%.
when you ignore that self-awareness and you just be like, I am who I am, or this is the way, whatever. Boot cut, sideways
Cut
hat,
jeans.
club.
Where do leather pants fit in this?
Ooh,
Can men wear leather pants
they can.
Yes, they can, but they shouldn't.
in 2020?
Oh, I never really thought.
Because I think that's generally the successful guys, and I feel like they're also making
You
bad
know,
decisions.
I'm not gonna lie, leather pants. I was like, oh, emotionally intelligent, emotionally rounded. Leather pants go over there. The boot cut jeans and the fitted cap.
I'm not wearing leather pants.
Yeah.
But
Regardless,
if you did, I
'cause
wouldn't judge you. I would still think you had
You
yourself
should
together.
You should judge me.
Okay, noted.
Because gross. But
Leather pants, yeah. I thought that was going to be a complete different take from the woman's perspective on that.
I genuinely, this is 100% off topic, but whenever I see a dude in leather pants, I just assume like, oh, this guy's making money, but he's bad at fashion. And he's just like, I
Got
saw
it.
these
Don't
leather
know.
pants, they cost $400. I'm gonna put these on, I'm gonna go to the club. I'm gonna look nice out here.
Facts. And if you're doing that above 35,
Ooh,
Ooh, don't
That
go to the
is
club at 35?
no, you shouldn't be spending the $400 on the jeans to try to impress people at the club. Like I've never been a club person. I just want to put that out there. I've been maybe a handful of times, but to see the lengths people go to get noticed in this dark room for a couple hours is insane to me. So if you above 35 as a man and as a woman, but I'm gonna just, I'm gonna speak for
no,
you.
that's that. No,
You shouldn't be spending y'all hair is like 408, whatever.
They're not spending nothing in the club anyway,
that's facts.
unless you're.
That's a whole nother.
Oh, that was bad.
I'm sorry.
That was me.
But niggas should not be spending $400 on jeans, buying no designer shirts, buying bottles in the clubs to impress people is
Bottles
insane
is-
to me.
That's the subsection.
never
It's
understood.
the emotionally intelligent, the bootcut jean men, scammers.
Scammers.
When you said leather pants and bottles in the club, I'm
gave
it,
scammers.
yeah, and it's probably, obviously it's not always accurate, but if I were to see you spending that much money in the club, I would think that you are getting it illegally, because I could not imagine waking up every day, especially when I don't like my job, clocking in and working for 8 hours and being like, I'm about to spend 4 hours of work on a bottle of tequila.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yo, they do it so often. Like the amount of times people are talking about buying sections and buying bottles, like it's no, I sound like a conservative. It's no way the economy is bad if we buy bottles and sections just to impress these people that you not gonna remember their name the next day.
No, it's a very, like, to me, like I said, on vacation, go crazy. But like, if you were going out, in my personal opinion, in the city that you live in every weekend, and that's what you're doing, I'm just
What
like,
age? Like past 30 or just in general?
honestly, I'll let you cook if you're like in the 20s, whatever. I can't say nothing. 28, 29, I feel like I can. But like, especially at our age though, in the 30s, if that's still what you are prioritizing, to me,
You need to work on your
you
priorities.
have some demons that you are fighting. You need to stay home one of these Saturdays and do some shadow work and figure it out.
Shadow work.
Because why are you like, I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around it. And I mean, I get it, because to the point we kind of talked about the other day where I was saying like some of the things that I kind of like relinquish myself from in my 30s is like social media, for example. Like I said, you'll be sitting in the house for a long, I'm like, I used to like be like, dang, I'm not having enough fun. Because you open up Instagram on a Friday night and everybody looks like they're having like the best time of their life and you sit on the couch. And so for, that will weigh on you. And sometimes it'll weigh on you to the point you're like, well, I need to get out and go do it too. I didn't get there. But I could see where if that was somebody, if that's what you're seeing, and that's what you like, that's your ceiling, is like, oh my God, that person's living like the most fun life ever. Maybe that would make you go out and buy a section and bottles that are overpriced every single weekend. Maybe.
Yeah, you might need a therapist too.
I'm sorry.
Going.
There's nothing. If you're in your 30s, I'm sorry. Like going out every weekend and doing the same thing, probably hearing the same 15 songs rotated because it don't change that much from week to week, and drinking every weekend. If that is like really like you're like, I'm looking forward to this Monday through Friday. Like I said, you are fighting demons, and you need to really like, and that's for men, women, anybody. Like you need to sit it down.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody.
Sit with yourself.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's what I feel like it is too. Like people, and it's another, I guess this is my 30s epiphany, where it's just like, a lot of people don't like their own company. And I'm guilty. I grew up with a big family. Like it's always people around. So it hasn't been that many times in life where I feel like I was kind of forced or even had to really enjoy my own company. Because I'm like, there's always somebody around. But having that time and just being like, dang, have I ever like, what do I like to do when I'm alone? Like that has been stuff that I've been kind of like thinking through and working through. Like at 30, like, oh, what do you like to do? Like, because sometimes I just want silence. I don't want to talk to nobody. Yeah. Like I could have the TV on, the YouTube video playing. Like I could be overstimulated, but I'm like, that's fine because I'm in control of that.
Chose that.
But I'm like, being alone in my own solitude, I'm okay with that now. And before I wasn't. I feel like that's another thing that makes people run to the club every weekend. Just not being okay with like being by yourself.
See, it all goes back to this conversation we've had years ago on the hobby.
No, facts, yeah.
You need to find something that you can do. I mean, it doesn't have to be by yourself, but just something that you enjoy that doesn't require you to be like, I need to go out to the club and do whatever this is. But I feel like relearning yourself when you get older is a thing that has to happen. Like, or just knowing who you are in general.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I'm pretty comfortable in the things that I enjoy and the things that I want to do in my like free time other than like when I'm at work. I think that that's something that everybody should at least be trying to find when they're getting to this age, because at some point you're going to have to be by yourself, like you're saying, and you have to enjoy that company, whether it is like just sitting around listening to music or playing video games or going on a walk, whatever it is, running. I know that a lot of people are in the run clubs now.
True.
But I think, you got to find something that you want to do, that you can escape.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because I've told y'all a couple times, my mother is like she just turned 66 this year, and she constantly is talking to me and my siblings about how like she doesn't feel like she knows herself, but she has to like dedicate time to try to like find herself. And I feel as though, now granted, since my mother's older in this millennial age group, it might be different for y'all, but I'm curious. I feel as though everyone I kind of grew up around, her sisters and my uncles and stuff, being from that generation, they dedicated a lot of their time to their kids. So like
building and stuff.
Yeah. So they never actually were able to put in like the time and effort, or at least it comes off like through conversation. It feels as though they never really had the space to kind of like relearn themselves as they got older, because for whatever the case, you know, things that I don't fully understand for that generation, they had multiple kids, you know, the crack epidemic, whatever the case may be, that took away time that allowed them to relearn themselves. Do y'all feel as though like with y'all parents being a little bit younger that they kind of like tried to put that in y'all, that you have to relearn yourself, like don't get lost in the world around you? Or is that something that for Black people just kind of still just passed down?
I'm gonna say like the exact same thing. I feel like it's true, because that's a thought that I think I don't know if it's like a 30s epiphany or something I started thinking about more like in my later 20s. Because again, like I said, it's 7 of us. So I think my oldest sister is like 30. Don't get me doing math. She's born in 87.
Okay.
But I'm like, I think my mom might have had her. I think she had her at maybe like 21, I think, or 22. I'm just like, and I think of like the 20s. I'm just like, that's when, you know, we would have to go to college and experience like that whole thing and like living on our own. You got to have our clubbing, going out every weekend air, like spending irresponsibly. I'm just like, well, she had children every 3 years from like the age of 21, and it's 7 of us. So I'm like, now my mom's in her like mid 50s, and I feel like I do feel like it's the exact same thing, where it's like you dedicated your whole life pretty much to taking care and raising children.
Her whole adult life at the
her entire adult life, and not just your children, but like that's just her personality as well. Like she has always taken care of everyone like around her as well. And I feel like she has put so much time, and I don't know, I feel like that is probably like an older Black woman thing, where you're just like kind of put into your mind early that you're supposed to just nurture people, take care of everybody. And she's done that to the T. And it's kind of like, I mean, it's ironic in a sense where it's like, well, now everyone is grown. Like my youngest sibling is 24. Like I have to remind her sometimes he is not a child. Like he's an adult. Like now I feel like at this age, she probably is in the process of trying to figure out like, like I've never even had to really have an empty house because I've had children like my entire life. It's very different for her. And so watching her kind of like, I guess, navigate that and seeing like what that looks like, it is interesting to me. And I do feel like it's kind of similar, where it's just like, I don't think she got a chance to kind of instill like, oh, learn yourself into us. Because again, I grew up with a bunch of siblings. So we never had to do any of that. I'm like, there was never a moment of peace. So I don't think she had those skills to even pass on to be like, hey, you should figure out like what you like to do and stuff like that. And at no fault to her, obviously, but it is very interesting. I feel like we probably are like the first, or like a generation that's kind of figuring it out on our own now earlier.
Yeah.
I will say that my experience is different because, well, my mom is younger, and I think that when we were kids, she was also doing whatever she wanted to do as well. Like they went on vacations without us and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, she was living.
Yeah, I mean, we have a large family, so she's like, I can find a babysitter. I'm going to do what I need to do.
Right.
And I feel like she does have like her hobbies and things that she likes to do just in general. Like she wrote a book when we were kids and all this other stuff. Like, exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, she is very in tune with the things that she enjoys to do. And I think that she kind of instilled that into us. I can't like think of like a specific thing of her doing that, but just I can speak for myself. Like for the most part, it was only 3 of us in the house, and I'm the only boy. So most of the time I was by myself anyway, just in my room. I got to figure something out. So I'm like, I'm just going to sit in here and play video games, listen to music, whatever it is. I figured I had to find ways to entertain myself naturally. And I think that mindset has always just kind of followed me. So I'm very in tune with things that I enjoy. And I think that has also just kind of grown with me.
Yeah.
And I'm set on those things now, I think. Like, we were talking about, like, when do you feel like you're set in your ways? I think it depends on how long you've been doing a certain thing.
Sure.
Like, I've been playing video games or, like, making playlists for music, like burning CDs, that kind of stuff for a long time. And that's just something I'm always going to do, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah.
And obviously there are things that like I will change like in my life. Like sometimes you don't have time for certain things, just depending on what you're doing in your life. But there are values and stuff that like I think follow you just depending on like your upbringing, like nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Like obviously there are some things that you just are born with that just you do, but there's also things you learn and those become a part of you.
That's fair.
So do you feel like as you're like on this journey of 30, do you feel as though it is easier, or like out through conversation with friends and stuff, do you feel as though you are not struggling to relearn yourself in this era? Do you feel like it's a little easier since you have already kind of developed that skill of trying to be in tune with yourself younger?
I will say that it isn't through that, but it's through the fact that right now, I'll say, in this particular time in my life, I was in a relationship for 5 years, and I'm out of that relationship now. So now I'm trying to relearn myself as a single person, and then also being in my 30s. Like that, my whole upper 20s was being in a relationship, and now I'm 30 outside of that. So now I'm relearning that part of my life, I guess. So yeah, I think that when I was in that relationship, I was putting some things aside that I really enjoyed. And I think I'm relearning to put myself first now. So I think in that aspect, yes, I do think that, like, yeah, there are certain things that, yes, I am relearning, but I don't know if it's because I'm 30 or because of that.
For sure.
I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yeah, just your timelines.
Yes, exactly. It's just them coming together.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, listening to you, it sounds very similar to what my mother says, though. Like, she didn't put the time in to, like, learn herself, but she often talks about, like, or what I interpret from it is that she just doesn't know how to put herself first. So it does feel like maybe that lesson does coming around this time, because to your point that you were saying earlier, up to college and then through college in your 20s, it feels like things are kind of like set in place for you to do almost.
Yeah.
But now you're to a point where you're so free. It's like I have to not only figure out how to like stay afloat and function as an adult, but then how do I charge my batteries? How do I make sure that I'm happy to be able to continue this routine of things? And I feel like we really don't, at least for me, I feel like now is the time where I've actually started to think like, oh, there's not something that I have to do.
Right.
So what am I going to do?
It's so weird.
Yeah. 30 is, it feels like super 20. It feels like
No, it's a 20 square.
It's because you're more financially stable, or I'd hope so.
Yeah.
But so you're like, I can do what I want to do,
But what do I want to do?
yeah, what do I want to do, and do I have the time to do what I want to do? Am I up to doing what I want to do? Because sometimes you get home, you're just like, I want to go to bed.
Yeah, it's like the day has.
So, yeah,
the
it's
day
like, you gotta.
drained
This
me.
is where you gotta listen to your body.
Yeah.
Because you're like, bro, I know that we said that being 30 is not that old, but my knees crackle when I stand up.
And I like to go to bed by night.
So you gotta listen to like, I'm not. You gotta listen to your body. If you invite me anywhere and you're telling me I have to leave the house after like 8, that's not happening.
no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, especially if I like being in this area, especially if I go to DC.
Not
Oh,
happening.
yeah,
I
that's
gotta
probably
wait before
not.
that. Yeah. Up the street, it gotta be like, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm not leaving my house after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you're planning something, you're like, hey, leave at 7. Cool. But if it's planned for after that, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I can't.
Well, in that same vein, I guess, is there any other like epiphanies that you guys have had that you feel like in your 30s of things where you're just like, okay, I didn't know that was a thing, but Eureka.
I'm not even gonna lie. Just this very conversation has made me realize that I don't listen to my body enough. Like I haven't told y'all this, but I'm currently injured. My shoulder is, they're either saying that I have a slightly dislocated shoulder, or what's the other shoulder? Rotator cuff.
Rotator cuff?
Yes, I could have a slight tear of my rotator cuff. So I've been going to physical therapy for that joint.
Would you?
How?
What, in the gym?
Just lifting or whatever.
Oh,
She was
okay,
like,
okay.
yeah, it's just, she was like, just from lifting, I guess not necessarily having the form through all the years, stuff like that, increasing the weight. She like, your body just overworked itself. And like, to be honest, I feel as though every year I've run into some type of injury that has like taken me out of the gym for like an extended period of time. And I'm not learning the lesson that I need to listen to my body. And like, that is one thing right now where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym, do the hikes, and do all the things I want to continue to do to keep me young in my 30s if I'm not listening to my body to be like, hey, what do you need to
Take those rest days, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that same vein, but yeah, learning to listen to your body, because like I started running again recently, but just this week I like got real bad shin splints, and I was like, I want to run, but I just know it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like I go out there and bust my shins up for what? now I can't walk. Right.
Right. To prove you can run at 30.
Exactly, to prove that I can run. For what reason? It's not worth it. So yeah, just listen to your body. Just take care of yourself, please.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely going to. That is a thing as we end this year that I'm going to try to listen to my body more, and just like all around, physically and emotionally. To your question, I feel as though I'm really bad at talking about my emotions and discussing them fresh in the moment. So like actually understanding my emotions a little better is something that I realize I need to do as well. Especially going into marriage and just going into, as my mother ages, I feel like my patience isn't there all the time. So it's like, I just need to be a better all around. I feel as though I put the pressure on myself to want to be a better all around person for the people around me as I age as well. So that's definitely something I need to
I like that. I need to still that. Yeah. That's into a whole other, another conversation for another episode. But yes, patience being thin, I need to work on that. I guess my biggest epiphany though too, and it's kind of, I guess not a new epiphany because we talked about this probably like several times before. We're just like how you were saying, like up until this point, it feels like your life, like you have a list of things that you're kind of supposed to do. Like obviously, go to high school, graduate, then there's college, then like, okay, get a job, then you're moving out. Like, and it's just different milestones to look forward to. But it's like, for me, like once that's done, I found myself being, like I said, I've put so much effort into being like financially like stable that I've never like really dreamed or thought beyond that. Like, okay, stability is great, but like, I could be investing or doing different stuff, but I've never even like really fleshed those thoughts out because I've been so kind of focused on just like maintaining this baseline of like survival and like being okay.
Yeah.
And now that I've accomplished that, I'm just like, oh, well, what do I do next? Like, how do I maintain this? How do I go another step? And I guess I never really like dreamed or thought beyond just being like, bills are paid and I still got money in my pocket afterwards. Like, so I guess that's my epiphany, trying to figure out how I can advance myself and move forward and kind of just get out the mindset of being like, okay, I just want to be like stable or make sure everything's good. Being like, okay, what else can I do beyond that that's fulfilling for me and that helps future Jada?
Okay. So the epiphany is it's okay to be beyond stable.
Yeah, like it's the reminder is like, girl, you're okay. Like,
right.
You're okay. Like
you're not stressing.
Exactly. I'm like, no one's going to come and snatch your home or your car. I mean, times get rough, they might, but I mean, I'm fine. Like I've been fine for a while, so I need to like be used to being fine and I guess kind of chill some of my financial anxiety and figure out how I can get to a point where I'm not as anxious about money anymore and I feel have a better relationship with it and it's not associated with so much anxiety or stress. Because there's no reason for me to feel like that right now.
That's good. I would say my epiphany has been, it's okay to put yourself first. And it's not selfish to put yourself first. Like, relish in the things that you want to do. Make time for yourself. I think that's something that I was not doing and was okay with not doing, because as long as other people were happy, I was content. And I think that at a certain point, you start to harbor bad emotions, or you start to resent people. For like, why can't I do what I want to do? When it's really you're choosing to not do what you want to do. So I think that's really been my epiphany. Like, yes, put yourself first. Do the things that you want to do. Make time for yourself. And that's okay. You should not feel bad for putting yourself first every now and then. Like, sure, sometimes you got to make, what's it called? Sacrifices, yes. Make sacrifices for whatever. But make time for yourself. That has been my epiphany.
I like it.
Yeah.
Does it bother anyone that we're like, I can see 40 in the horizon? I personally can't see it, but it is in the horizon. That's when I'm like,
No, I can't think that far in advance. I see what's directly in front of me, and right now, this 30 and 200 days is good enough for me. So I'm up.
Is it actually 200 days?
I don't know.
I was about to say that you looked at your watch. And I was like, this nigga did
okay.
that
I was
quick
looking at
math.
the
going
just
back
around.
again, the chisel.
Wow,
Rain
call
Man.
back.
I didn't call you Rain Man. I wouldn't say that about you.
I don't think I have not thought about 40 at all.
Yeah.
But I think because just to go back, like I do think that 35 is a weird milestone, especially for I don't know if is it a milestone for women? Like is that something you think about? I feel like 35 is when you're really a unk.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I need a 40 in my hand when I take 35.
I feel like the only milestones in 30s is completely associated with just like people drilling in your head your whole life that when you turn 36 and you're a woman that you're just like,
You got a kid.
kick them dry eggs. Like, yeah.
What are you good for at that point, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's not true.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That's not my thought. But I've seen some people. Yeah, it's crazy.
Some
no.
of the Reddit pages I'm on.
No, I don't know how to use Reddit. That's a conversation I need to have. I don't know how to use that thing. You can teach me offline.
Nope, I don't want to.
Okay.
Have this, you in this professional lingo in our everyday life, you do it so much. Offline is nasty. It's okay. We'll work on that.
All you do is work in your 30s. That's it. And that's why some people buying bottles in the club. Maybe. Because they got it.
They're depressed.
Is that how they unwind?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But
That sounds stressful.
yeah. No.
Seek help.
They stressing me, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
In this economy, God bless you.
Yeah. Go home. Drink your sorrows.
Take care of your
like
kids.
a real man.